Good morning and welcome to a special KidNuz podcast. I'm Kim, and while our team is taking some time off for the holidays, we've pulled some of the best stories from this year. This week, we have the first half of 2021, all our stories from January through June. And we begin with the youngest inaugural poet in U.S. history igniting the nation with a fiery performance. On January 20th, 22-year-old Amanda Gorman shared the stage with former presidents and the likes of Lady Gaga and J.Lo to read her original poem, The Hill We Climb. Amanda was raised by a single mother who taught middle school and, like Joe Biden, has a speech impediment. She called herself a weird child who often wrote in her journal and on the playground. It paid off. At 16, she was named the first Youth Poet Laureate of Los Angeles, and 3 years later, the country's first National Youth Poet Laureate while at Harvard. She's appeared on MTV, written a tribute to black athletes for Nike, and has a 2-book deal with Viking Children's Books. As for what comes next, Amanda hopes to be back on that stage as president herself in 2036. At least one college in the U.S. took its fight against the coronavirus to the dogs. In order to make sure its campus was safe for students last spring, Florida International University set 4 highly trained pooches loose to sniff out COVID. The canine team consisted of 1 Belgian Malinois, a Dutch Shepherd, and 2 small rescues. Their job was to sweep classrooms before anyone entered. If the dog sat, it meant further cleaning was needed. The Miami Heat basketball team also enlisted the help of man's best friend, but its pups were charged with smelling people instead of surfaces, and only ticket holders who made it past Fido were allowed inside. According to Purina, a dog's sense of smell can be anywhere from 10,000 to 100,000 times better than a human's, depending on the breed. Have you ever wondered how far a hit golf ball would travel in the low gravity of the moon? The first American in space did and convinced his bosses at NASA to let him give it a try. Alan Shepard's form was limited by his 1971 spacesuit, and it took 2 one-armed swings before he landed a good whack. The attempt was televised, but the camera couldn't follow its flight. Shepard joked at the time that the ball went miles and miles, but no one really knew until now. A British imaging specialist named Andy Saunders spent years enhancing footage from Apollo 14 and other moon missions, and in February found Shepard's golf ball a mere 120 feet from where he hit it. Mr. Saunders calculated that if a professional golfer, instead of a professional astronaut, tried, it would probably land 2.62 miles away after a full minute of hang time. A soundtrack of spring dropped on the East Coast last April and May in a grand and kind of gross way. Insects known as cicadas that were underground for 17 years made their way to the surface. Not just a few hundred of them, trillions of a specific variety known as Brood X worked their way to the surface when the soil turned warm enough. There was no mistaking their arrival. Cicadas make a very loud buzzing sound comparable to the noise made by a lawnmower and showed up from northern Georgia to New York, west to the Mississippi River, and in the Midwest. They don't bite or sting, though, and faded out by July. The Brood X bunch won't be back again until 2038. Could you swim for an hour against a strong tide if you had to? A 7-year-old in Florida did, and now he's being credited with saving the life of his dad and little sister. Chase and 4-year-old Abigail were hanging off their anchored boat in the St. Johns River near Jacksonville late last spring when Abigail lost her grip. Chase let go and stayed close, and Dad jumped in to save both. But with the current pulling all 3 further and further from the boat and only Abigail in a life vest, Chase swam for help. It took him an hour of doggy paddling against the tide to reach the shore, and another hour for rescue crews to find his dad and sister, who were then nearly 2 miles from where they started. When asked how he became such a skilled swimmer and a hero, Chase was honest. I have no idea. Before heading to the Olympics, Simone Biles pushed the boundaries of her sport and physics yet again. The 24-year-old gymnast launched herself into another record at the U.S. Classic in Indianapolis last May when she landed the Yurchenko double pike, a triumph that no other woman has done in competition. The ridiculously dangerous vault starts with a round-off back handspring onto the horse, followed by a double somersault. She's been practicing it for over a year, but because this was her first meet in 587 days, Simone had to remind herself to do it like training and not overdo anything. The move has gone viral, as have detailed shots of the rhinestone goat on her leotard, a nod to her status as the greatest of all time. According to the Washington Post, once the Yurchenko double pike is officially recognized by the International Gymnastics Federation, it will be the fifth skill named in her honor. In our KidNuz kicker, tired of having to reach your hand into the bottom of a sticky peanut butter jar? Apparently, there's a TikTok for that. A poster named Brandon and others have gone viral with the solution. According to the videos, if you lay a jar on its side, give it a few good fast spins, physics will do the rest, whipping what was on the sides to the middle and top of the jar. The trick has people reaching into their pantries to see for themselves. Apparently, the hack works on both creamy and chunky blends. Thanks for listening, everyone. Please tune in next Monday for some of the best stories from the second half of 2021. In the meantime, we here at KidNuz wish you and your family a very happy holiday.